best intro I ever seen.
Welcome to It was pulling teeth to get my kid to do that sample for I was like, just into the phone, just say You say it all the song. He's like, no, not on command.
They don't. My kid is this new thing where he got like in between when he's trying to sell you something, he's always like, hey, so like it's his new. He clicks like he's like, and that's how I know that I'm about to buy a used car.
Yeah, yeah.
He starts selling.
He's got to tell.
Yeah. And sometimes it's like real pronounced, like
he's speaking Kosa.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing, but it's funny.
I love it. Well, shit, man. Let's just jump right in.
Yeah.
There's a few things that I want to talk about that I've always loved about your songwriting, and then I've got a bunch of questions that I wrote down this week from people.
Love this.
And then I switched the iPad so I can actually see half of a comment at a time. Once you get two people on the screen, it's sort of jacked up, seeing these little bitty things down here. But anyway, what I want to talk about, one of the first things that always draws me to your songwriting is melody. The way you write melodies, man. The way I write melodies, the way a lot of people that I write, there's a couple of schools that are very linear, conversational. How you would say a thing is how you would sing it, you know, because speaking has an inherent cadence in it, I find, you know, because the way we say things, because the way we say things, it has it in there to me, the melody, speech. But you do that in your verses, and then in the chorus you go for broke, man. You've got these great interval leaps. You just got a really great melodic sensibility, and that's something that's not a strength of mine. That's always drawn me to your songs. So I guess if to put it in a question, is that innate? Is that, you think that comes from your influences? Does that come from I don't know?
Well, I mean, the hymns were the first thing my mom played for me when I was a kid. So, you know, that's what they did. They sort of like told the story during the verse, and then they did the big, you know, like how great thou art, you know, like and
go for the goal.
Yeah, it was not. There was no messing around. It was like Broadway. There was no like a bass for a chorus writing in a hymn. There's no bass hit. It's this home run or it's dud. You know,
we're not
turning
page 237 for no reason.
Yeah, there's no pages 1 through 20 were all hits. You know, him no hits. I think that's got to be the reason, because she played me that, and then like, you know, a lot of choruses, but they had the big ones though. You know, like the times they are changing. That's pretty bold, even if it's one line.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the thing, but the conversational element, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know, it just sort of doesn't happen that way. It's starting to happen now. Now it's doing more of that.
I have noticed, but you still, yeah, we'll get to that. But yeah, the new record especially, man, I just really admire that. It's a ballsy thing to write straight, to write.
Yeah.
You know, because it takes a restraint, because it can come up, you know, for me, I fear it's like, oh, people are going to think this is simple. And when you're doing direct, you know, and the new record is direct, and it still has, for me, it saves some of the things I really like about your songs, because it still does have it has big choruses. They're just, they're you know, they're just subtle. They're you know, and they're still, you know, they are smaller anthems. They're not, but they're not smaller because they're bigger for me, the directness makes it more immediate. We can talk about those, but yeah, I mean, is that a conscious thing when you start restraining yourself?
Yeah, because you have to sort of fill in the gaps too. So I would say that like I went more from, instead of just like pounding it out and trying to get to these big things, to the wide view. Mm-hmm. You know, like I guess it's the difference between like when you see something kind of like a firework happen, it's like bang. But then when you like survey like I don't know, like a piece of nature or something, you know, like when you're out in the middle of the woods and you sort of just like look for a second and you're just like, okay, that's wide. you know, whereas the firework is just like immediate bang. And like that's it was difficult because I thought everybody was just going to think it was dumb, like talking about very direct things. But then I said, I don't have a choice. This is what I want to talk about, you know. And I at this stage of the thing, when you're, you know, however many records deep in the existence of it, you got to decide at one point, who are you working for?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and you know, you keep doing it. Yeah. You got to. I don't know. Yeah, I admire it. I'm trying to read comments at the same time, and it's not good. So I'm just gonna, if they pop up, I'm gonna read them later. But yeah, we even talked about this as it applies to just guitar playing, because you've been playing a shit ton of guitar and
lots of guitar.
And you talked about, we were talking about this other day just on the phone, that it's hard not to just fucking wail when the song doesn't need it. Yeah. It's like, yeah, because you just want to, you know, that's the restraint enters into that too, you know.
Well, yeah, because there is a demo take probably 64 of like one of the songs that was like, you know, just to see for fun, you know, like no, it doesn't fit.
No, it rarely fits. There's a few people that can make them fit, but most of the time,
I love it.
What are you doing? I'm gonna make a whole record of that stuff one of these days, but
yeah. Wheedly record.
Oh yeah, Lily.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I took I went, see, even with that stuff, like even with the guitar stuff, I kind of recently been going like down the totally opposite end where I took a guitar lesson. You know that guy Julian Lage?
No, you brought him up the other day though.
Yeah, he's a jazz guitar player, and he's like he's tasty, like no wheedlies, but a couple of like he almost plays like guitar like Miles Davis would play a trumpet.
Yeah, it's
very like speech oriented, you know, the rhythm of your speech. It's mind blowing. So I'm kind of like, I went, and like now I've got this like my fingers I gotta like break my finger to do like F sus 9/6.
Yeah, I've got a book of Charlie Parker stuff for guitar, and
yeah.
I'm like, did a guitar player write this out?
No.
I'm like, hands aren't gonna do this. You know?
It's almost like you gotta cut your thumb off, because if you don't use the thumb, like I actually hurt my elbow pretty bad over the winter, where I got like a nerve caught in it, so it felt like carpal tunnel syndrome, but in your elbow. It's like tennis elbow, you know.
Yeah.
And I was having trouble playing.
I get that shit. Like I get that all the time.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Right, and it's not fun. And so I like what I had to do is I had to drop the gauges down to a 9, and then I started that broke out all the fenders again because it couldn't hold the weight of the Gibsons. And also the thing is, like, when I went to like a lesson, and my teacher was like, yeah, I had something like that. He's like, you got to let go on the back of the neck. You got to keep your wrist straight, but let go on the back of the neck. Like use your arm to pull. And he's like, you know, do bar chords for like 2 weeks. And I was like, whoa, but it frees up this whole thing. And you're like, woo.
Gets rid of the,
yeah.
Yeah. I'm always manhandling. But my thumb always coming across the top. I'm just like,
yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's a tricky world, you know?
So other thing I like about your songwriting, man, we got off melodies too fast, but there's a lot of, but I'm just trucking along, and we'll let other people ask stuff.
Yeah.
You have like a really complete control of structure in your songs. You know, the build and how you're some of the best outro tags I've ever heard. Like, because that's a lost art, the outro tag.
Yeah.
It's like,
I love it.
Rocket Man still got, you know, it's going to be a long, long time. You know, it's like, where the hell did that come from? You know,
yeah.
We're cruising out to this for a minute.
Yeah.
And it's just, but things like that, you know, you've got some double bridges here and there. You've got just this flow to the songs that is, it cannot just be how you write it. That has to be surely that's within thought and editing and yeah. And so how much of that happens sort of up front, like right when you get the song, you start messing with it, or how much happens later in the studio, as far as full like structuring of you know, the bridges, and after the bridge is going to drop back down for the pump fake right before the, you know.
Well, a lot of it, some of the older times that it happened, it was a lot of Ted Hutt's doing. Like, he would be like, okay, cool, we got to set up that fifth chorus, you know, or whatever. So he's like, you got to write like a drop or something. But oftentimes too, like, I had that in there because I think I wanted as much. I didn't know how many records I was going to make. So I tried to squeeze.
Make them all at once.
Yeah, man. I wanted to make every ounce of juice in every song, like in 3, and as long as I could keep it under 3 minutes, that was it. But,
yeah.
You know, I was always a fan of those kind of ups and downs with the music that I listened to. There was a lot of, like, there's a little bit, I don't know, maybe it's a Broadway thing, I'm not sure, but I love that feeling of the kind of up and down. And then the outro, that actually came from watching movies as a kid where I would leave the theater and I would always find that the best song was playing during the credits. So I was like, hey, what if you just put like this tag that had nothing to do with the rest of the song on the end and just gave you a real powerhouse?
Yeah, those are great, man.
But I would always write that later. So you're right, though. That was never like, it never came that way. I would always kind of like finish the song and then go, okay, how can I use these chords and move them around just slightly? Now come up with 1 line or 2 lines that really like drive it home.
Yeah, that's musically kindred, but it's not too far apart to where it feels just tacked on. But yeah,
I mean,
that's the trick. That's the trick. Is not just duct taping the thing on there.
No,
you know?
a lot of it was the soul music too. They do that a lot.
Yeah.
The outro, you know, I'm big on the outro.
Yeah, like the Blues Review stuff does that too.
Yeah.
Because it's just, you know, it's the walk up the stage, come back kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love that stuff.
Yeah, I dig that. That particularly structure-wise, I want to. And then the other thing, it's funny that you mentioned Ted because I was talking with Ben from Lucero last week or whatever. He mentioned Ted. It's some of Ted's structuring thing in the studio. So yeah, that stuff, you know, for people that write, it can be taught. It just has to be. It can't be forced, you know. It has to be an extension of what you already have with the song, you know. It's the same way if you got a verse and a chorus of a song, you're like, oh, what comes next verse-wise? Well, maybe nothing comes next. Maybe you haven't written the first verse. Maybe you wrote the second verse, and you know, the way you sort of like what you write is going to, you know, create the song eventually. Sometimes, you know, this thing is like, oh yeah, it's okay, and then it takes you here, and then like, oh, scrap that. This took me here, and here's the song. Same way I find with structure, it has to come from it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the times it's like throwing stuff together and then finding a home for it, you know? Because for me, I've gotten to the point where I can't consistently have a way of doing it because I get bored so quick that like I run into so many walls by just being rigid and saying like, well, I only write the verses first or the music or the words first or whatever. Now I have to just be like, yeah, I don't know, like I'm gonna write the end of the song and maybe it's the end, and I leave everything until the end. Like the absolute end, and then I sort of like there's like the writing phase and then there's the editing phase, and never the two shall mix.
That's absolutely that's the way I find it too. Yeah, because you can step on your own shit, you know. Yeah,
but giving myself permission also to write really badly is that was freeing, you know, to just write like, yeah, I don't know. I was reading that book that Jeff Tweedy wrote, and you know, like hurry up and go so we can get back or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
So he was talking about going through Woody Guthrie's lyrics with Billy Bragg and trying to find that Mermaid Avenue record. And he said that he was like writing crazy stuff that you would never want published. And you could just see that it was okay to write terrible, you know?
Yeah. It's a pretty good example there. You get to go through Woody Guthrie's power shit.
Yeah. Well, you know, this land is your land, no big deal.
Yeah, I mean, probably the stuff he just tucked off was just like, you know, gold. Yeah.
I would take some of that. I would take some of the side, you know, the side dishes that he has. Let me look at that box, Jeff Tweedy.
You gonna eat all that? Give me a bite of that.
Hey, you gonna eat all that, buddy? Woo!
And so I was thinking about something that's common with you and then Lucero's music. There's there's an Americanness to it and a restlessness to it. You know, a lot of times you have the small town thing but the American version of that is we got to get the fuck out of here. You know, or as opposed to, you know, the Pogues singing "Dirty Old Town" in a place that has deep history, and they're like, there's no fucking escaping this. There's almost a resignation to it, and there's like an American restlessness that I hear in your music that you know, I don't know, is that a thing that's you feel naturally, or is that?
I think so. I think you're born feeling like that. You know, you want to just go because I don't really know. You realize there's a big wide world out there, and I'm not really sure why that seems possible or plausible at all. You know, in a completely unprepared state of a teenage American, where, you know, in the way that I grew up, like there's no reason that I should think, hey, I'm gonna go explore the world. Why would I ever think that that's like acceptable, you know, procedure? But yeah, you know, for some reason there's something inside that makes you want to just go. You know, I could see how that's drawn. It's you know, it's a restlessness. I think that's been it's definitely an American thing for sure. I don't know if it happens in other places, but here for absolutely sure.
Yeah, it seems like the road is our. It surely happens in other places, but it seems like the road's our answer. You know, like our immediate go-to.
Yeah, well, it's long and wide in so many places. I think it's because it's sitting there. It's just sitting there waiting for you.
It's got a bunch of lanes.
Yeah, why not? It's almost like inviting you. It's like an enticing thing, you know, like a cookie. After dinner.
Well, what I was going to lead with that into the new record and some of the solo records too, but especially the new one. You know, it's the restlessness has shifted to well, characters in a little bit, but also to your family and to like it feels rooted. The record feels really. It doesn't feel like a fucking wind's going to knock it over. If you know, it's you know, it doesn't feel like it's like, you know, come on, let's go. It feels like it just feels very solid. Like you can hear family in it. You can hear your concerns that are concerns of a mature man.
Yeah.
And then it feels like a, you know, to me.
Yes, no.
You're reading into it. We're in the same place in life in certain aspects.
I feel like that is the kind of the thing. Like, just, you know, you get to that point where you have to decide. I think it was a big kind of identity crisis as well, where you're going like, you know, am I going to try? Like, I'm at the point where like I'm clearly not a young man in his, you know, 20s busting out, you know, and like we were talking about the road and stuff like that. Like, I feel like I wrote the best songs that I could ever write in my capability about stuff like that. But I feel like to write that about myself now would be, I would be, you know, kind of like, yeah, is that what you're doing with your weekend? Like, nah, I'm going to soccer games, really. Yeah. I'm dropping my kid off at, you know, too early in the morning at school. Too early for me anyway. But I think that's like that you have to sort of decide, like, everybody thinks that that's boring, you know, or your friends will tell you that. They're like, that's boring. Don't write about that. And I said, I don't think it's boring. I think it's real, and you gotta do that. But, you know, it's a tough thing to do. I looked at the examples, you know, that were there when I was doing it too, to try and figure it out. So it was like, but there are many. They're vast, wide examples. So, you know.
And that Billy Bragg one's really good.
Which one?
I'm blanking on the subtle one about his family and sort of home life.
I don't know if I know that one.
Really good. I'll look it up and see what the fuck I'm talking about. We'll have a private conversation without people.
Well, you know, well, just back to like Wilco for a second. They had a song that was in, ironically enough, it's not ironic. It was in the Gilmore Girls, that show, and it was a song called "My Darling," and it's like when the character is going to college, and I remember hearing that like years ago, and every time I hear that song, it's just about like, you know, he's singing his daughter to sleep, and like, I don't know, that to me meant more to me than like we're busting out on, you know, Route 5010 or whatever.
You're gonna get lost on Route 502.
Yeah, 5010. That's not even a real thing. But I didn't know, what was I gonna talk about? You know, like,
yeah,
hey, you know, I got in a fight last night, got stabbed. Like, what? No, I didn't. I hope I didn't, because I got to pay the bills, man. I can't get stabbed.
I gotta be up too early to be having a
Yeah,
stab.
can't stab that. I gotta get up.
Well, there's I mean, speaking of stabbings, I mean, you do have a murder ballad on there, so there's always character songs.
Yep,
You know,
I do. Yeah. That's my first one. I never wrote a character song like that, and I was happy with that.
Did a good job. I dug it.
Thank you. It was difficult.
I was like, where's this going? And I was like, whoa, that's where it's going. Because that's the thing. You know, you can play music you can play content against the sound. You know, that sound is very calming. You know, there's no clues. There's no clues that the knife's coming.
No, but that's kind of the thing. Yeah. Like,
yeah.
Because I didn't know what to do. It was my first, sort of exploration into that. But it took about 30 or 40 verses to figure out what to do. I wrote that each one of those characters had lots of endings. They died a lot of different ways.
Holy shit! A Choose Your Own Adventure album. Put that back.
Yeah. Don't tell anybody.
Skip to track 9 if you think the character should do this.
Don't tell Father John Misty. He'll steal it from us.
He's not listening.
I wouldn't imagine.
I've got a guy that follows me on Twitter. It's called Fatter John Misty, and it makes me laugh every time I see it. Every time I see his handle. The sidetrack.
I don't know. I'm sure he's a hoot.
Oh Lord. So let's see. I got other shit I'll think about as I go along, but
yeah,
I wrote down some questions.
Great. I love questions.
Some people actually asked some questions that had to do with songwriting. There were a lot of non-songwriting questions. People want to know your shit.
Like what? Like what size is my waist?
I didn't write any of those down. Just like oh man, what was it? Well, somebody asked, does this look infected? That was one question I got. It seemed like it would have to have a picture to go with it. One person wanted me to convince you to sell handwritten lyrics. That's one of my side hustles.
Oh man, that's the thing that's come up lately. Like people were doing that. I think like online. You do it right.
Oh yeah.
And I saw Ryan Bingham did it, and I was like, nobody's gonna want my handwriting in their house. Well, lo and behold, I was wrong, because they did a little poll on Twitter, and I was like, my goodness, everyone wanted that. I was like, wow, that's okay. Yeah, that's a cool thing.
People want to support, and it's like a direct thing. It's a cool, when I started doing it, I was going to charge like $20, and my wife was like, when was the last time you wrote with your hand and a pen, a sheet of information? I was like, what do you mean? So I wrote some lyrics, like, ow, what the hell? She's like, yeah, we don't write anymore. We're all just little computer monkeys. And she's like, jack the price up so you don't have to do it.
Yeah, you can't be doing, I don't think $20, if you may want to consult me before you do that. $20 is not like.
Oh no, I've been doing it for 100 pop, which is astronomical. It's ridiculous, but it's like, it's for fans, and it's like, it's one of a kind. I don't know.
And you do it in your house, and you hang it up. It's like, I mean, I think too, like, would I pay for somebody that I admired to, write a song like down and know that it was like them writing it? And I would. It made more sense. It makes so much less sense when I think about me doing it, but when I think about other people, because like when I, remember like back in like 2019 when we could go like to the grocery store. Remember back then? So like. It's wild, right? But so I used to go to the grocery stores, like where they had all food and like there was like toilet paper and stuff, like lots of it. And so I would walk down the aisle, and people would come up to me and they'd be like, "Hey, I love your music," and it would stun me for a second, and I'd go, "Oh yeah, what?" I was like, I do music." It was weird, and my kids would be like, "Why is that guy coming up to you?" And I was like, "No reason. I owe him some money."
Yeah, don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Head down, move off the aisle.
So you forget that that's what you do, and it's like a thing,
It's like, and it means stuff to somebody. Oh yeah, this means things to
people.
Right. Oh, speaking of people, I saw Dave Haas on here. He's said he's filling out 12 of them right now.
Lyrics. You doing the lyrics?
Well, I screwed up with the lyrics thing because I did it right after the last election, and I had to do something because I was going to lose my mind. And so I did where 100% of it went to either like Planned Parenthood or Everytown, you know, the gun safety one, and immigration thing. And I was like, maybe I can raise, you know, do 10 of them, and I'll raise $1,000 or whatever. And like, and then it sold like 89 of them. And so I'm just like, for weeks, like, and my, you know, my lyrics are, you know, I'm pretty verbose, and I'm like, why couldn't they order a girl named Go and not Sultana? You know,
Yeah.
15 verses on the front.
I think I might have to cap it though too, like, and be like, you can't, like, there's some, I don't know, it would be, maybe, I don't know, maybe I don't have to cap it, maybe I can just do it. Dave says his hand hurts.
Yeah.
He's
got twins. Put them to work. Just teach them early. Don't teach them words. Just teach them writing.
Hey, you got two extra set of hands. You got them twins. Put them things. They could be writing like this. You know, meeting in the middle.
Somebody else. Let's see. Somebody asked about the murder bell. Let's see. Oh, here's two that are kind of related. J Moore 0047 and At the Dark End of the Street both asked, which song on the new album took the longest to come together in the studio? And the other question was most difficult to write and why. They're kind of tied together.
I would say that that Vincent took the longest to write, and then that for sure took the longest to write. It took over a month, and 21 Days though was extraordinarily hard in the studio because it kept leaning to be like, you know, it's that grand versus wide thing that we were talking about. Like, are you working with like Daniel Lanois, or are you working with like, you know, like a rock band? And the trick is that it could so easily have slipped into like rock and roll, like big, you know, thundering drums and things.
It's got a pop chorus, yeah.
Yeah, but every time, like, and I wouldn't say that we didn't like at least listen to that, like play it and then listen back to it. Like we did a little, but every time, like, I would hit like a chord or, you know, to make that like round, like rock thing, I would just instantly go, I don't like this. Like, it just feels uncomfortable. Yeah. And I like, and I remember like Peter and I sitting together and being like, what are we going to do? I'm like, I'm out of skill here. Like, this is not my pay grade. I don't know. To me, this it needs room, but then I don't like it anymore when I do that. What do I do? And he's like, okay. He's like, I think that you just got to let me try this for a second. And then he put like all this stuff. And he's like, do you like anything that doesn't have a big guitar? And I said, yeah, I love Florence and the Machine. And he was like, cool. He's like, I'm going to check, you know, I'm going to go like try and steer some of these things in that direction. That's where we got the boom, boom, the like timpani thing from. So it was, but at the same time, even then he was saying like, you know, when I was singing like the chorus, like my initial thing was to belt it. He's like, don't belt it, stop. He's like, just talk it. And I was like, no, I can't do that. I'm not the National. It doesn't work for me. And he's like, trust me, I've been doing this for years. Do it. And I was like, okay.
Hey, it's that full moon fever shit, you know?
Yeah, big time. And I had to just try it. And like, and it ended up working for me. But it ended up opening my mind. People ask me about like, do I feel like this is like a transitional period for me? And I like recently, and I do. I feel like something opened up in my head when I finished this record, where it was like, must have happened to like how, you know, when Tom Waits had that period in his career where he just goes, I don't play the piano anymore drunk. I got this whole thing I got to explore over here, and I'll see you in 20 years because that's what I'm doing. That's what I feel like my head did. It was just like, oh wait, this is I've been working on this for a long time, and you can see it even back on like Sink or Swim. Like, there's all those acoustic songs. Like, that was what was spinning around in my head, and that's how I would present all the songs to the band. I would be like, look, here's this acoustic song. But now my head is just like, I got to go chase this down. Like, I just got to do it.
And there's a whole world of, you know, of things in there that flesh it out that are subtle. And it's hard. It's a difficult world to work in because it feels, you know, not everything fits it. You can't just stack it.
I know.
It's some naked shit, you know?
Well, I'm learning that. That's what I learned on this record. Yeah. You can't just stack stuff up.
No.
You know, it's a delicate art. Like this, what do you call it? Roots music? I don't know what it's called. Americana. What is
I
it?
play it, and I just don't bother calling it anything.
Yeah, it's strange, but I have a I have a unique perspective too to it, because like I knew that when I was making this record, I was like, well, I could go down the fiddles and banjos road, which is something that I'm a fan of, but I thought if I did that, it would be a little insincere, because like I'm not from. That's not what I heard when I was growing up. I love the sound of it, but it just doesn't mean it's not me. And so like I had to sort of turn to the I keep bringing up the Daniel Lanois records, but like that's what I had to turn to. Like that's the Emmylou Harris record that really resonated with me, is the Wrecking Ball one. And like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like I had to find, where do I fit in this music? And I fit in more in that like it's not full Bon Iver, but it's not Lyle Lovett either, even though I like Lyle. It's like somewhere in like, it's like this middle ground of, I don't know, not stacking things. That's for sure.
Yeah. Oh, I know what you're talking about. I mean, I'm from here. I grew up in Mississippi. I don't play banjos and shit on my thing. It feels a little twice removed. I'm from Mississippi, but I didn't have a donkey in my backyard. I grew up skating and watching MTV, and I was a little hood rat, So it's like, but yeah.
Somebody asked me, like, they said, they're like, so you think you're gonna move to like Nashville or somewhere, or Austin? And I was like, no. I mean, both great places. I just don't like. I'm not ready to like. I'm not gonna like, reinvent the suit here. Like, I think that like this is stuff that I've been kind of kicking around in my head for a long time, but I don't think like I'm ready to like, do the thing.
Yeah, I think maybe it's stark for some folks because it is an instrumentation change at the same time as a direct songwriting change. Because you were leaning there with all your solo stuff. It's not that stark of a thing for me, because I've been listening to the songs. I see progression. It's a natural progression. Yeah. But the instrumentation really did get broad and sparse.
Yeah.
I love it. I love the sound of it.
I do too. And it was so difficult to do, but every time we would land on a moment that worked, in my head I would just go, I can't wait to push that next time. Like it was like putting little, it's like when someone shows you like a double stop for the first time, you're like, oh, I'm going to use that everywhere. This phase 90 is never coming off. I'm leaving this song on for every song.
Yeah, I'm like that with I've been teaching myself Ableton or whatever, and now I've got these little keyboards and samplers and stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, Mellotron's on everything now. Yeah. Oh, later. I was like, no more Mellotron.
Yeah, I hear you. It's all there.
Yeah. So
all right.
How do you do it when you write, as far as your little thing? Like, you got a little rig at the house, or are you still pen and paper acoustic guy? Are you
I think I've written too many songs to sit down with the acoustic anymore, and like without breaking my head. Like I think I gather, and then I'll go back to the acoustic and just the voice. But I use the laptop, type out the lyrics just because it's faster, and my ideas come quick or they don't come at all. So I have to so I can, But I'll do. Sometimes I'll put in like drum beats or something on the Logic. Use the drummers and move them around. Play some like paddy synthy stuff, and then even if that stuff never ends up at all in the song, it just gives me a starting bed to play to, and then I'll start to play the guitar and like find something that I like, or a melody vocally or something. So
which leads. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
But every once in a while, though, like on a song like Vincent, that was 100% like at the piano, typing it out, old school, just punching it till it worked.
Yeah. That's actually, you just answered a couple questions. That's what some people were like. How often do you fight it out versus let something marinate?
I am a firm believer in the craft of it, and I do believe that there's some mysticism in the art. I do believe that we're all a little bit touched by the divine, that we get really good ideas and they come to us. But I find that most of the time, what's up?
Touched by an anvil. I was just speaking for myself.
But most of the time, it's slugging it out for me. And I look at it much like you would look at, maybe it's from the construction working that I did when I was younger, but like I just look at it as like, you know, one thing and then the next thing, and you have to be gentle with it while you're dealing with it, you know, and you're trying things. But it's a lot more craftsmanship than it is like raw, just emotion pouring on the, you know,
Yeah.
like that happens once in a while. I'll admit that happens once in a while. Like when I wrote the first song on the record, this is about my kids, and I like wrote that out, like I was like crying at the thing, typing it out, like, you know, and but that doesn't happen that often. Most of the time, it's I'm writing and I go, this feels like chewing on cardboard. But then I look back later and I step back and I go, oh wait, there's one line that's not. Okay, hold on, let me make that into something, you know.
Yeah.
And then I use the bag of tricks. I got an A chord and an F minor, you know.
Look at this C. What's the C even doing in here?
What is that seventh chord?
So, do you have like example of offhand of one that was a son of a bitch to write over your whole catalog, and then do you have like a quick example that pops to mind of a fish that just jumped in the boat? You didn't even have to have a hook. You know?
Well, yeah. I mean, I would say that like that some of them were tough, like tough. But I think that like that first song, that When You're Ready, that just came out. Like it came out fully formed. When I was typing the lyrics, I don't know, I had the melody, I had to, you know, I sat down and I had to figure out what the melody was because I was singing it in my head, but it all just was there. And so that kind of jumped in the boat. But I'll tell you though, like some of these ones, I was like, I don't even know. Like even during this whole process, there was points where I said to my wife, I was like, maybe that's it. Maybe I'm tapped out. Maybe I don't believe that that's true. I don't believe that song or artists or whatever, you run out of songs. But I felt tired inside. I was like, I don't know where I'm going. Like, I don't know if I should listen to like what people want me to be, or, you know, like, but I feel like I don't want to do that. And then what do I do? And where do I go? And I'm on my own now. I'm not even on like a big label. I can't fall back on that. You know, I'm nothing. I don't know what's going on. So this was a real fighting match though, to get through.
It shows. I mean, in a good way. Like I think it's that's the thing. It doesn't feel like a like, again, it's more direct, but it doesn't feel like a straightening out of things, and it doesn't feel like a settling of things. It feels like there's a fight in there, you know. Like it's a choice. Like you know, I know how hard it is to write that shit. You know, the simpler stuff. You know, and it takes conscious decisions. You know.
Yeah. It really dogs you. I made like a playlist during the writing where I had every song that I could think of that was direct. So if it had like for instance, like U2 was on there, like with the song One, where it was just like, hey, what's that song about? Yeah, it's about one love. We carry each other. Like, can you boil the song down to one line? And those were the songs that I had. Like Nina Simone, how are you feeling? I'm feeling good. Boop. Like that was on the playlist. And I was just trying to like break my brain. I find that if you punish your brain with enough of the same information, that subconsciously it'll come out. I still didn't write One by U2 though, or I'm feeling good. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, they didn't write One by U2 either. They wrote two damn songs and they glued them together. Yeah.
Like that. Oh yeah. See.
Yeah.
Got to get an engineer, somebody like that, producer or whatever.
They didn't glue them together like Layla though.
No. That's good too.
I love that song, but you know that the whole part, the piano player shit. I guess he just walked by and heard the bass player working, and he's like, "That's my song now." That's what we're gonna stick that right on the end here, and the best thing I've ever done. But,
Whoop.
Yep.
That's a good move.
Let me see what some of these other questions are. Let's see. We talked about incorporating software, electronic instruments. Someone wanted you to discuss proof of life, and all they said was proof of life. Discuss. I don't even know where they're going with that.
Discuss. Yeah, let's
somebody asked, you ever record some of the older stuff like the Blues Mary, Tin Pan Alley, stuff like that? Are they just in a?
Well, no, I did. I don't want to say anything like bad about. I got treated, very well on a major. I felt good about it. They never asked me to do anything, but I got those two songs got caught up in this weird thing called Record Store Day. So what happened was, like, I recorded them on their own, and for like a 7-inch, and I thought that it would be released eventually on like, I knew that it was for Record Store Day, and that was cool, but then I thought, like, later on it would get put on iTunes, like, so that people were widely available. And there was some sort of, like, misinformation where I was like, oh, I'm going to record these songs and give them to, like, the stores, so that'll be cool. And then that was cool. And it was cool to like, have the Record Store Day thing. What I didn't know is that nobody followed up then to be like, hey, we're going to just not do anything with these. And I was like, well, Record Store Day's over. What? No one cares. Like, that's already, they have next year Record Store Day. So, like, it's not the Record Store Day that's holding me back. It's just it's lost in the giant. Yeah. Well, do I go fish it out? I don't know.
Yeah.
Or do I just go,
that's for later.
Yeah, I don't know.
Got time. You got time.
So you know what I'm saying? It's like, that was one of those situations where it got tied up in the wires, and that, but I think if I went fishing for it, I probably could get it. So, there's that.
Yeah. I want to keep them about this time, so we're winding down here in a little bit. I appreciate that. We'll keep John a little bit and see if we can look down here. I couldn't do without doing this, but I was just like, people talk about, you shouldn't meet your heroes, things like that. Yeah. And even in my sort of, like, dirtball, low-key existence, I've had strange encounters where I've got to meet, like, Prince and Bowie and Dylan and all this stuff, but it had more informative, life-changing encounters, like with Jeff Buckley and John Prine, who's my hero, who wishing well, and it looks like he's coming this battle with coronavirus. But I have never actually befriended a hero of mine. I know you know where I'm going with that.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
And most people know you're friends with the boss.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, it's a weird thing because, like, for me, there's times when I completely forget that that's my friend. And, like, but then every once in a while, like he shot me a text a couple weeks ago and was like, hey, I saw 21 Days. Like, it's awesome. And I was like, what the hell? Like, you did? And I'm like, why are you spending? Don't you have, like, bossly duties or something? Like, why are you watching my video? But that was so cool to have that happen. And then at other times, like, sometimes I'll try to, like, if a story comes up and I have to, and, like, the answer is who is the person that was saying it, it's him. People will feel like I'm, like, throwing that around, like, dropping the name, like, oh, do you want me to pick that up? And I'm like, well, no, man, I'm just telling you a cool story. Stop being so cynical. Just let it be cool, because it's just as cool for me as you. Like, I'm equally shocked, Yeah. But it is weird because it comes with, like, it comes with, I don't know, responsibility. Like, I don't know, like, I don't want to ask him for anything ever, like, I don't ever want to push any boundaries, so I just don't.
Yeah.
That might be
where I was leading with it wasn't just sort of like the human interest of. I was just curious if you ever talk shop with him, like songwriting or anything.
Oh yeah, totally. Like, that's like the main thing that I found out that during the River, he was like a massive Clash fan. Like, he was obsessed with the Clash and, like, the New York City punk that was coming out, like Television and like Talking Heads and Blondie. And he was obsessed with this stuff, right? Like, all of it, the Buzzcocks. He was telling me all these things. And during that period of time, when I guess it was whatever, I think it was the River, right? That, like, same era, 1978, 77.
I'm bad on the timeline, but yeah, it's have to be.
It was either Darkness or the River. I'm not sure which one. But
it sounds like it was Darkness, like music.
It does, kind of. Yeah, you know what, it does. So maybe it was Darkness, because that was 78. So it would have been that. Okay, so maybe let's say it was Darkness, because he was saying how he was like trying to incorporate elements of punk in his stuff, and I can totally hear that now. And I was like,
Ash raise the cane, hell yeah.
I'm like, wow, you're like
vocals and everything.
He's like an absorber, you know. He does like the same thing. He becomes so human in his process where like he said to me one time flat out, I said, what do you do when you're stuck? When you feel like you're a fraud and you can't write any songs and you feel like you've just been like accidentally stumbling into this your whole career. He goes, I feel like that all the time. He goes, and I'll tell you what. He goes, I've been doing this for 40 years. Sometimes I sit down at the table, pick up the guitar. Sometimes it comes. Sometimes it doesn't. And that's what he said. And he goes, and I go, what do you do about it? He goes, nothing. I was like, okay.
I walk off into the distance.
Yeah, I fade away become smoke. You know? What do? I'm pulling, I pull out of here to win. That's what I expected him to say. But he just.
Somebody just said it was like, and when they heard that whole lead up about meeting your heroes, they were like, I just so expected him to say Chris Farron. Yeah, it was a segue to talk about Chris. Hello, Chris. I don't know if you're out there.
That's a good burn. But it's the normalcy of how he talks about it and how regular he is about that. It kind of made things make a lot of sense to me about other people, like that. It's just, we all are like, it doesn't matter if you're you or me, or if you're Dolly Parton, or if you're Jason Isbell, or you're whoever, like great songwriter, like that seemed to me to have mystical powers at some time. You know what I mean? Like, how did they write these words? How do they come down with these melodies? Like, this isn't fair. Like, what did they do? They sell their soul to somebody or whatever. Maybe they gave some money to charity or what did they, I don't know. But they didn't. It's just like, it's work and it's time and circumstances. And like Derek Jeter said, you're at the right place at the right time sometimes.
Yeah,
that's just it.
Funny. Yeah, the craftsmanship of it. It's funny that you mentioned construction because that was the last real job I had. Buddy of mine had his own thing, and so he would just take on work when I was in town, extra work. And I miss having the beginning, middle, and end to a project because this shit is so nebulous and abstract, And so, but it's funny because I can tell you that your approach to structure and songs and stuff like that does have there's a craftsmanship to it. So I'm sure that informs it. I don't know.
It does. I mean, it's definitely like you got to build the house, and get the framework done. And I think that that's an important element, or else you have these wandering sort of things that maybe lose people in a way. At least when you're me, when you're Bob Dylan, you do 17-minute songs that talk about, craziness and then you have a couple really heavy hitters in the middle. But like,
he gets rolling on that dirge. Like
he
as soon
does.
as he starts telling the Wolfman what songs to play. Oh
yeah.
Man.
But you can't do that when you're Brian Fallon. You can't do that when you're Bob Dylan.
Yeah. I think you could hold people for 9 minutes.
9 minutes.
Yeah,
well, maybe I have to try that. I mean, Sturgill was holding him down for a minute there in that new one. Did you see that?
I haven't. Wait, what was that?
His new record.
Yeah, I heard it.
You know how you put the solo? When you're jamming live? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you put it at the end of the song. Not first. He put it first. He was like, yo, I'm going to groove on this for a second. Then I'll sing you the song. Like,
he's going to shine on Crazy Diamond for a while.
He did. That's a baller move. Like, just to be like, I'm playing. It's boss time. And then he does this. Oh yeah, the song, right? But it's like, you can't do that when you're me or you. You can't. We can't do that together. We can't.
No way. People will be like, skip.
Yeah, delete. Delete. Yeah, delete. There'd be no profile, on the internet.
Yeah, you like the 3-minute and the 4-minute songs. I'm a fan of that too. There's some I would love. I've got some sprawling songs, but I still try to pack them in 3 minutes. I just jam the sprawl on it, zip this file up and.
Well, I love the 3-minute, 4-minute song, but then like live, I like to extend it out, and I like especially with the guitar thing, and all that. But I'm really getting into the Pink Floyd thing. I just think that no one would hang on. Like Shine On You Crazy Diamond, it wouldn't be a song right now if it was released today, because I don't think that anyone would unless they're high. I don't know. I don't do drugs though, so it's tough for me to gauge what the high community.
I don't know what the kids are out there.
No judgment.
Well, this thing's gonna kick us off in a little bit. So
okay.
Let me see. What else? I appreciate you doing this. This is just kind of, frankly, it's the only social life I have. And
well, yeah. I'll tell you, man, I was real busy. So you're lucky I took time. I was just doing stuff, going out, you know, I was super busy.
I didn't mean for it to line up with, I mean, you do have a busy week relatively to the other weeks because of the album coming out.
Yeah, but I scheduled it in. I think you texted me last week and I said, this is holy ground. I'm at 6 p.m. Central Time, Wednesday. Cory Branan, holy ground.
I appreciate it. I've got Amanda Shires coming on next week.
You do?
That channel. Yeah, I've got 12 folks lined up. I'm just not going to announce them until each sort of show.
I'm going to tune in for that one.
I'll tell you offline. What else you got coming up?
Well, I got a lot of sitting on the internet going, maybe a couple live Instagram things, working on videos every day for somebody. And maybe I'll do some live shows on the internet. You know, I got nothing. I got nothing. That's it.
Just the hustle. Do you have any of the live ones booked? You got something to tell them to tune into?
Well, yeah, like, I mean, on Instagram.
This is part of the show where we promote shit. I'm about to
yeah, I don't know. I'm doing, I think on the 10th, I'm doing a Martin guitar live stream, which I'm excited about that.
Oh, yeah, Chuck did one of those the other day.
He did it at the same time as me, though. So really,
Oh, that's why I didn't tune into it. I was watching your...
I'm going to have to call him up and be like, listen, man, first you don't teach me to fish, then you want to cram in on my jam?
I love how he don't teach you to fish is an action. First, you don't teach me to fish.
Well, he's got all that skill with the fishing, and I was like, my skill is minimal. I got rivers, I got creeks, right out there.
Yeah, y'all got some nature there.
Hey, I got some fish.
Oh, I was always shocked the first time I ever went to Jersey, like, because Jersey to me was like Springsteen songs and things like that, and it was a sort of industrial wasteland, and I was just like, no wonder they call it the fucking Garden State. I'm like, this is gorgeous, but I would just like,
it is.
I just got right off, I was like Axl Rose getting off the bus in L.A. and Welcome to the Jungle, but it was great. It's beautiful there.
It's nice. I like it.
Well, all right. Well, you know that. Oh, I'm going to promote something real quick. As soon as I get off here, I'm about to drop a record that does actually pertain to this a little bit. I'm going to be doing a series of cover records, and I've dug through my old files and stuff, and I'm just going to drop this. It's going to be called, now that's what I call Isolation. So, yeah, but the first one that's about to drop here in a second, as soon as I get off the thing, has Spirit of Jazz on it with Lucero. Back. So I'm going to put a Gaslight song on there.
Thank you.
And anyway, so yeah, there's that, and then tune back in. We'll have to do this again when I figure it out, but nothing exploded.
Anytime you want. It's pretty easy. I like this. I like talking to you. Good to see you.
It was relatively. My family went out in the yard to play. There's just not much going on around here either.
I changed mine up in the basement.
Lord.
Why is that weird?
I don't know. I'm not from Jersey. I don't know.
We don't have a basement. I live in the shore. The ground underneath is muck.
Yeah. We just have tornado, shelters. We don't really have basements.
We have no basements. They're in the bedroom there. They're hiding from your accent. They're not sure what to do with it.
What's going on in there? Well, I appreciate you. Squeeze them for me.
All right. You too. Be good.
Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Thank you very much, everyone. Be good.
Cheers, brother.
You too. Bye-bye.